Have you ever experienced or wondered what interracial dating feels like?
Dating is hard. Oh, God. Especially now.
What's wrong about interracial dating is dating a person for superficial reasons. Like, I want my babies to look a certain way.
I'm not going to say it's meeting your soulmate because you have to meet, 20 million people to find that.
To what extent has true love fared in interracial dating? Hey, glad to have you around and welcome to today's podcast on interracial dating. I'm your host, Lawrence Ezemobia. You shall be listening to the different opinions of Georgia State University graduate students from different racial backgrounds. Meredith, Lionel, and Jasmine are my guests to talk about interracial dating. To what extent has true love fared in such relationships? What are the takeaways? Let's begin with revisiting the word dating.
It's about finding someone that you may have potential to build a life with. Dating isn't something that I would personally do only for fun, but I treat the person with respect in hopes that maybe we could have a life together.
Dating in general is just getting to know the other person, pretty much. I think dating is just like the process before the commitment. I guess it's less pressure.
Oh, God. Dating is hard, especially now. I'm not going to say it's meeting your soulmate because you have to meet, 20 million people to find that. But I think if you're dating, the goal is to get married or have a life partner. That's what you're looking for. Whether it's you figure that out within 6 months or you figure that out within 20 years, the goal is to be together with someone. You're finding your person. That's what I'm going to say.
Considering the diverse definitions of meaning making ascribed to the word dating by people from different walks of life and backgrounds, I would say that dating is an intentional coming together of two different people committed to each other and learning more about themselves with a sole purpose to possibly getting married to each other. How would you describe interracial dating from your direct or indirect experiences, starting with your Meredith, then Lionel, and thereafter Jasmine?
I'm more of a vibes person. If the vibes match, go for it. If they don't, part ways. I personally don't think that race or ethnicity should matter, but I know that it does to some people. I mean, my dad's mixed. He's Hispanic, so my mom's in an interracial relationship. But on the flip side, my uncle, who is racist, who is married to my Hispanic aunt. Yeah, it's a lot to unpack on that one. I don't think it should matter. But as long as it's a healthy relationship and communication is flowing both ways and both people are comfortable. Now, if it's like, okay, we're dating, your family's racist towards your partner. If you're uncomfortable, I don't want to put you in that situation. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think interracial dating comes with different challenges, and I think my personal experience. High school was a white girl. I think I was just really discovering myself. Her in particularly, I don't think related that much in terms of sense of humor, culture, at that point, because high school I went to was I think it was 70% black, so I don't think we related too much specifically. That's why it didn't work out. Sense of humor was different, the slang we used was different, so I think we couldn't connect at that certain time. A lot of the time people may date interracially for superficial reasons, I want my babies to look a certain way.
To me, a person is more than what their race or their skin color is. I want to get to know the person for who they are, rather than just focusing on factors such as skin or even ethnicity.
So let's look at culture and racial influences. What were they and how did they influence you?
For sure, religion. If that's part of your background, you're very much, I'm hardcore Christian. I don't want that. I grew up Southern Baptist. It's not fun. But when you say, I love Jesus, I'm going to pray for you, this is how I'm good, I'm not going to touch that. Key cues that you can pick up or how heavily involved the parents are. You can always tell, I'm not looking for a mama's boy. Those people are crazy, because then I'm also in a relationship with your mother. I want you to be involved with my family. I want to be involved in your family if we're in a relationship. I want us to have a good communication. I'm not dating your mother. I'm not going to be your mother. And I know some cultures are big on family. That's okay. But I'm not dating your family. I'm dating you.
Finding a way around cultural differences depend on the couple. Some people's cultures might be more compatible with other people. Sometimes the issue could be family. It could be certain traditions clashing with your own traditions. How about our family norms You might even have different cultural expectations of what a family is, but overall, it's something that can't be made simple. It depends on the couple, the culture, and how much you value your traditions in the first place.
It's important to be with somebody that understands your culture and is respectful towards your culture and your interests. I find it easier to connect, easier to understand, and
Believe it when I say that some relationships suffer because individuals involved may not have a clear purpose for what they are getting into. Most of the times, they get clouded by the euphoria and the ecstasy of their personality. Yeah, Jasmine, go ahead.
When two people come together to get to know each other, they also have to factor in their differences, which is why dating is important, because you date to see, can it work? You date to see, do I like this person? Do I love them?
I hear some like men say like, black women, da 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 da. Like they love to name the things that a certain race doesn't do, instead of just dating a person because they like that person for, I guess, I don't know, convenience, or I don't know what they feel like it is. But I think that's what's wrong. Like dating for superficial reasons, like certain races can be fetishized over instead of genuinely liking that person, or you seek a certain race to because you subconsciously fetishize that race. I think that's.
Just be honest with me. That's like the thing, because that's gonna see if, okay, what's our relationship going to be while we're doing this? Are we looking for the purpose of dating, or are we just looking to just mess around? That's the biggest thing, especially nowadays with like all of the dating profiles. What are you looking for? How is this gonna work for me? And is it gonna be long-term or short-term? Right now, I genuinely don't care. I'm just meeting people right now. But communication is very much like a big thing for me. And if you're not a good communicator, and I know I'm not the best texter, so there's that too. I'm very much a better let's talk in person or talk on the phone person. But I need to know up front, like, hey, if we're making plans, we're sticking to the plans. Or if you need to back out, I need at least a 24-hour notice.
Let's get deeper to your personal experiences and incidental moments to drive home the context of our discussion to our listener.
It's important to be with somebody that understands your culture and is respectful towards your culture and your interests or hobbies. I find mostly that I date people my race because I feel like they can relate to me a little more, like they understand me a little easier. I'm not saying there's not a person outside my race that wouldn't relate to me or understand me. I think I just find I have more in common in relation to somebody that's my race. I find it easier to connect. I find it easier to understand. And
there's always going to be the crazies who don't show themselves, their true selves, until 10 years later, and you're like, oh my God, what did I do? Because typically, if someone's approaching you in person, and you're able to have a one-on-one conversation. So I can be like, all right, let's continue this conversation. Let's actually talk, and you can get to know me for a little bit in person versus when you're on the dating app. You could be texting for weeks. You have time to formulate a response. You can go to your friends and be like, oh, how do I respond to this? I do that too sometimes of like, oh, how do I be a little cute and like flirty? But you have time to figure out a response over text. In person, you have to be on the spot. I can't gauge you as a person through your text. I also don't want you to tell me through text that, oh my God, I would love for you to meet my mother. I don't know you. That's weird. So it's easier to kind of gauge versus if you're in person, we're talking for a while. Oh my God, I think my mom would love you, like as a joke. In tone. I can tell tone in person. Over text, I can kind of pick up on those cues of being a little flirty, joking around.
In high school, I dated one person who had similar racial background, but a different culture. This person particularly doesn't count because they didn't learn the traditions of their family. However, I've known people who have dated outside of their race at the very least, and I've seen how it could fall apart. I know a woman who was so pressured by her family that she left their own baby boy on the doorstep of his black grandmother because she couldn't deal with the loss of the relationships in her own family simply because she had fell in love with, quote unquote, the wrong type of man. I've seen a person have to raise their little mixed daughter because his wife took off and also left her on his doorstep. So I've seen it fall apart because of outside pressures in my experience.
While you're listening to a conversation, Alpha, do you wonder what is right or wrong about interracial dating? Right in the sense of what trying out, or wrong in the sense of cultural barriers? I know personally that there is beauty in varieties, and these varieties are made possible from diversities. To reassess the submission, how beautifully engaging is culture monotony compared to shared diversities? Coming back to you, Jasmine, Meredith, and Lionel, let's have your opinion on what is right and wrong about interracial dating.
There was a man who dated outside, and the woman that he dated tried to change him in ways that were not necessarily ethical. She wanted to change aspects that made him who he was. In instances like that, you have to remember to respect the culture differences of the person that you're dating. Respect the racial differences. You might not have too many differences, but there will be some differences, and you have to respect them. So I would say that nothing's wrong with dating outside of your culture or race, as long as you're being respectful to the other person. And again, I encourage, when you're trying to date outside of your culture or race, do not bash their culture. Learn. And if you're not willing to adjust, or if you're afraid and you don't think you can handle what may come, then I would suggest in that case, not even going for it at all. If you fall in love, I recommend you to don't give up on that love unless you absolutely can't deal with it. Because I've seen people get hurt physically and mentally to not recover. But there's nothing wrong with interracial dating.
If you're considering it, go for it. What's the harm? I mean, besides getting murdered. That's always a possibility. And if you go in, you meet the person, and it doesn't work out, you're going to have those anyway, even if you're in the same race. Of, hey, you're a good person, just not for me. Happened to me recently. The guy was nice. Conversation wasn't there, and you weren't able to keep the thing going. And people are like, Meredith, it's going to take more than one date. If you make me slightly uncomfortable on the first date, I can't. But if you have a problem with it, that's something that you need to look at, and you probably need to go to therapy to unpack all of that. Some of these men don't know how to hold a conversation, or you say like the cringiest things. I got shaken bacon, and I was like, ooh, let's try that again. And they're like, no. And I was like, true love is hard. Dating is hard. I think if you go into the intent of looking for your person, you might find them.
The takeaway is genuinely get to know the person you're with and date that person for genuine reasons. Like, you really want to get to know that person, or you really understand that person, or you just like them for them, not for the idea of being with them. I think my suggestion for people would just be to follow that instead of dating a person for the aesthetic. I think those are reasons are only going to lead to failure.
You had insightful contributions, opinions, and encouraging thoughts of my guests from Graduate Studies in Georgia State University. Meredith, Jasmine, and Lionel. It was awesome having you around. And you, my wonderful listener, Alpha, subscribe to my channel for a new podcast on the topic Identifying the Right One. I remain your host, Lawrence Izemobia. Bye for now.